Twilight's Embrace. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the forest transformed into a realm of shadows and whispers. The last rays of sunlight filtered through the dense canopy, casting an eerie glow that danced upon the mist. It was a time when the forest seemed to hold its breath, waiting for the night to fully embrace it. The forest loomed, a wall of shadows against the dying light. Each tree stood like a silent sentinel, guarding secrets long forgotten. The shadows stretched and twisted, creating shapes that played tricks on the eyes, making one question what was real and what was imagined. Twisted branches, like skeletal fingers, clawed at the sky. They seemed to reach out, as if trying to grasp the last remnants of daylight. The gnarled limbs intertwined, forming a web of darkness that added to the forest's mystique. A low mist, cold and damp, clung to the gnarled roots, obscuring the forest floor. It swirled around the base of the trees, creating an almost ethereal atmosphere. The mist seemed alive, moving with a purpose, hiding the forest's secrets beneath its veil. The air, thick with the smell of damp earth and decaying leaves, hung heavy and still. Every breath taken was filled with the essence of the forest, a reminder of the cycle of life and decay. The silence was profound, broken only by the occasional rustle of leaves or the distant call of a nocturnal creature. In this twilight embrace, the forest was both beautiful and haunting, a place where time seemed to stand still. The Wanderer. A lone figure, silhouetted against the fading light, stepped cautiously into the woods. Daniel, a seasoned hiker, felt a shiver run down his spine, a primal fear he couldn't explain. He pushed deeper into the forest, the darkness closing in around him like a suffocating blanket. Whispers in the woods. The silence was unnerving, broken only by the rustle of unseen creatures in the undergrowth. A twig snapped underfoot, the sound amplified in the stillness. Then he heard it. A faint whisper, carried on the wind. He stopped, listening intently, his heart pounding in his chest. The whispers grew louder, circling him, seeming to come from every direction. He quickened his pace, his unease growing with each step. The trees pressed closer, their branches intertwining overhead, blocking out the last vestiges of light. He was trapped, lost in a labyrinth of shadows and fear. He stumbled into a clearing, gasping for breath. The dense foliage had been relentless, each step feeling like a battle against the very essence of the forest. His heart pounded in his chest, echoing the rhythm of the forest around him. The air was thick with an almost tangible energy, making every breath a laborious task. In the center, bathed in an unnatural glow, stood an ancient oak, its branches reaching toward the sky like gnarled arms. The tree seemed to pulse with a life of its own, its glow casting eerie shadows that danced around the clearing. It was as if the tree was the heart of the forest, pumping life into every corner of the woods. The whispers were deafening now, swirling around him, pulling him towards the tree. They seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere, a cacophony of voices that spoke in a language he couldn't understand. Each whisper carried a weight, a sense of urgency that he couldn't ignore. It was as if the forest itself was trying to communicate with him, to draw him closer to its heart. He felt powerless, his will dissolving into the oppressive atmosphere of the forest. The weight of the whispers pressed down on him, making it hard to think, hard to move. He was no longer in control. The forest had taken over. Every fiber of his being was drawn towards the ancient oak, the heart of the forest, as if it held the answers to questions he didn't even know he had. As he reached out to touch the tree's rough bark, the whispers ceased. The forest, which had been alive with the soft murmurs of unseen voices, fell into an eerie quiet. It was as if the very trees were holding their breath, waiting for something to happen. An unsettling silence descended upon the forest, heavier than before. The air grew thick with anticipation, and the mist that hung between the trees seemed to close in, wrapping around him like a shroud. Every step he took echoed loudly in the stillness, amplifying the sense of isolation. He looked around, expecting to see the source of the whispers, but there was nothing. No movement, no sign of life. just the dense, impenetrable forest stretching out in every direction. His eyes darted from shadow to shadow, searching for any hint of what had been speaking to him. Only the ancient oak, standing sentinel in the clearing, seemed to hold any answers. Its gnarled branches reached out like twisted arms, and its roots dug deep into the earth, anchoring it firmly in place. The tree had an aura of timeless wisdom, as if it had witnessed countless secrets over the centuries, a silent testament to the forest's secrets. The oak stood alone, a guardian of the mysteries that lay hidden within the woods. He felt a strange connection to the tree, as if it were calling out to him, urging him to uncover the truths buried beneath its ancient bark. He had found the heart of the forest, the place where the whispers originated. It was a place of power, a nexus of energy that pulsed with an almost tangible force. He could feel it in the air, a subtle vibration that resonated deep within his bones. But what he had discovered there he couldn't say. The forest held its secrets close, revealing only glimpses of its true nature. He stood there, bewildered and awestruck, knowing that he had stumbled upon something far greater than himself. The silence was unearthly, and in that moment he understood that the forest was alive, watching and waiting.